言うことは一つだけ。絶対負けねえ。
これがこの世に存在する究極のシュートだ。
How's it going, everybody? This is Nothing XS here with a new player analysis video. Here we're going to be covering the new banner, the 1987 Warring World Warriors Brazil banner. They're wearing the 2019 uniforms, but it's pretty much the 1997 team for World Youth. They cover the players that played in the World Youth Finals against Japan, and it's Santana, Salinas, Dugo, Marcio, and Casagrande. Additionally, we're also going to be covering the new 0.01 Levin that was just released today. I know that this video is a little bit late, but if you've seen the banner, you know why it's late. It's not really a banner that I really wanted to get into in the beginning, but you know, people are waiting for this. So let us just get it out of the way and get it over with. It's not going to be a very long video because there's not a lot to talk about. They're pretty straightforward. So let's start. First off, we got Santana, Brazil's golden bow. The limited version of Santana can only hit 63.1k with their default S shot, released during a second anniversary celebration in 2019. It's not really a cause for alarm or interest or much of anything, really. The big issue with characters that are released that are underwhelming is that they don't offer much to talk about. I'm not gonna lie. His shooting stats are nothing to write home about, leaving Santana only ahead of the 18 version of Blue Santana and the old green one. And pretty much equal to the old red gacha one when he pops full power, and that's not exactly a hard barrier to cross. It also means he doesn't even come close to the power of the Dreamfest version, let alone the Skywing Twin Shot version. He's somewhat okay in other aspects of his offense, but in the current meta of Captain Tsubasa Dream Team, there just isn't a lot of room for a low-impact blue striker. Skywing Twin Shot can only ever reach 65k and offers Tsubasa and needs Tsubasa to execute. He does offer some flexibility at least. His dribble reaches up to 10k on a standard striker limit break, and his pass can get to 11.5k, while his stacker hovers around 9.5k and his intercept at 9k. Curiously, since he doesn't have super solidarity, you might feel comfortable ignoring him since there might be another better version of Blue Santana at some other time, so you don't have to run this one to try and make that work. His positions as a forward, rolls, striker, and enabler, he's about A tier. You know, he's not absolute useless garbage, but he's not good. I wouldn't pull for him. I would just hold out and wait for something better. I mean, if you really want him, then whatever. If you're trying to collect the players, then go for it, but otherwise, nah. For his limit breaks, this limit break should be familiar to you by now. It is a standard striker limit break with 25 speed, shot power, 22 3-pass technique. Now, if you've given up hope and would rather keep his tackle, want to give him some form of interception like the A80 rolling EX, some form of flying drive pass or new Brazil football and Santana turn. Basically, if you're going to play him as a full utility forward, this is how you can do that. You just give him the utility build 16, 16, 18 dribble tackle speed and 17, 17, 16 pass intercept technique. For his grading, his passive is more or less what carries him, and while requiring him to be played in a full South American team seems like a daunting task, it's actually quite a bit more easy to do in the current meta because you have many more South American players that exist, like 3 defensive midfielders finally. Not entirely sure it's worth the effort, of course, but there it is. Scoring A, enabling A, defense B, pressure C. Doesn't apply a lot of pressure, being that he doesn't have a whole lot of things to apply pressure with. He's about B independence. He needs too many South American players, but at the very least, it's not very specific. Flexibility A, he can do actually quite a few things, it's not too bad. He's very durable actually, he does have pretty decent stamina. He has a lot of skill support, so that is one thing that he's very good in, but that's not something that really affects grading at the end of the day, unless it's terrible. Team skill A, passive S, you know, his team skills whatever, it's a 17% South American blue team skill, not very helpful. But the passive being that he gains 10%, that he gains stats is actually quite decent. For stamina 981, not too bad, as you see his stats roll up to 8.8k dribble, 10k shot, 9k pass, 7.8 tackle and intercept. He also has 12.5% buff to his low ball skill, so if you have one, it might be okay to give it to him. I wouldn't, obviously. There's not any S low ball skill yet, so probably not worth it. For skill build, S tornado, arrow, skywing shot. I think maybe they should have given him a volley. They should have given him the S, like the 2-stage volley in the air. That probably would have been a better idea. A Santana turn, A new Brazil football, A shoulder charge, and A rolling interception EX. Depending on how you feel about playing this character, you can substitute the new Brazil football for some flavor of flying drive pass that you might have available if you're more interested in enabling others instead of bringing the ball up. You can even replace the tackle for it if you'd like. The shot is better than people give it credit for, honestly. It's a 475 momentum, 435 shot, and it has a blowaway. It's basically double speed, double spin tornado shot without an additional blowaway. And also much cheaper in stamina. It actually should have been the shot that Dreamfest Santana had in the first place, in my opinion. It's kind of weird that they didn't give it to him and that they waited until this character, who frankly can't use it, or can't use it as well. I feel like they should have given him like a volley, and when they released the original Dreamfest Santana, they should have given this shot to him instead. It would have been a lot better. Next up, we have Salinas, Last Stand of the Supermen. If there's a prize in this banner, it's probably Salinas. Being probably now the only good goalkeeper that the South American archetype has access to, there's a few things to like about him. But there are, frankly, just as many things to not like. For starters, his biggest issue is that he has basically no stamina. 914 is a very low amount of stamina for anyone, and on a goalkeeper it's downright laughable, particularly this far into 2019's meta. Now, I know that the current goalkeepers that just came out for 97 Samurai also have that problem, but you have to remember that Salinas exists in an archetype where there's no backup South American goalkeeper, right? And meanwhile, all these other goalkeepers are Japanese, and they have Morisaki as a backup, and he's also pretty decent. So I feel like this Salinas probably could have stood to have had like 980 or better stamina. I don't know why he doesn't. I'm not entirely sure how much confidence Salinas is supposed to inspire in the South American archetype when his only decent version that has just finally come out is basically dead within a half. That said, he's a full-body stand goalkeeper with 2 actual S saves, which aren't too hard to get, particularly if you already have one or more of the old green Salinas copies in your inventory. S perfect fine save is actually a good thing to place on him since his stats accommodate a hybrid build quite well, allowing him to potentially stave off certain death from opposing forwards just a bit better. Either way, he's basically just Dream Collection Morisaki with worse stamina, although Dream Collection Morisaki also has worse stamina costs. That's something that people don't really think of when comparing the two. Having Dream Collection Morisaki as your main goalkeeper is really not all that bad, and Super Solidarity for red South American players is also nice to have. So, in the end, Salinas is a goalkeeper. He's primarily a catcher, but also a hybrid goalkeeper because of full body stand nature, and because that means that his punching stats actually do reach pretty decent levels. That makes him about an S tier. It puts him in the same grouping as Dream Collection Morisaki and all the 97 goalkeepers. Would I pull for him? Maybe. If you really need a South American goalkeeper for some reason, especially if you're playing Red South America, which I think is like the most complete South American archetype now, ironically, because of Roberto Carlos and all this other stuff, he could actually be pretty decent. So consider that. Now, for his limit breaks, there is the catching limit break and the hybrid limit break. For catching, if you go straight catching, this is only for the first catch. I didn't go for unbuffed, so only for first catch. 80.5k on his main S skill, 64.4k if you teach him the S punch, 49.1k on A one-handed catch, 46k on the A perfect fine save, which he comes with, A double-handed punch 36.8, B one-handed catch 39, and C power catch 27.9. Now, if you go hybrid limit break, you do lose a little bit in Genius Super Reflexes. You lose about 1.5k. However, the gains on your actual punch are actually pretty wild because remember, full body stand heavily changes, like it really impacts how much the punch value actually becomes, because remember, it's a multiplier. You're multiplying by 1.3. So you basically get 5,900 total save. That's actually quite significant. It does make S perfect fine save like a viable alternative. I wouldn't like be weird and go full puncher, because then all you did was make him into green Salinas. But having the green Salinas punch at the best punching level that the green Salinas can reach, just a little bit worse, is actually very viable as a backup plan and to defend against spamming. And also, because his punching is so much better, you get like 50k out of A perfect fine save, which is actually really good. You actually improve his A punch by like 4,200 or so, 4,250 save, which is total save, which is actually nice. And one-handed catch doesn't suffer all that much, right? So you could tell here that everything is pretty close in terms of catching, and that the punches improve so much that hybrid is really the way to go with the Salinas. For his grading, any goalkeeper that can hit 79k on a main save is really good, but the biggest problem Salinas has is that he can't sustain it. Just one save out of full power lowers the second attempt to somewhere in the mid-70s, which is not that bad, but ought to be enough for you to want to really try and play around your opponent's shooters and shoring up your defense, which leaves him as rather dependent on your defensive line doing their job well. Having a bunch of access to good A skills and a great S and A punch allows him to try and make the most out of his paltry stamina at least. Now, his main save is a double S. However, it's only a double S as long as he's full up. This turns into a case where you need to know how to play the game pretty well, where you need to make that stamina last you a very long time. So main save double S, spam defense S because he can learn the S punch, and he also has a very strong A punch as a result if you go hybrid. So he's actually pretty good against spamming. The problem is that it's also a function of stamina. As you can see, his durability is C. So he does well against spam, but he can't hold on for that long. But he does well enough. And punches are a little bit better for you if you hold defense mode. Punching the ball away means that it has a higher chance of landing on one of your guys. So just worry about that. Independence A, he relies on his defensive line so much that he's not very independent. He is pretty flexible in building, but flexibility on a goalkeeper always comes down to what options you have in terms of stamina granularity. Skill support A, he doesn't have a whole lot of skills, but he does have just enough. It might be that he's actually like an S skill support, but I feel like it's more like A. Now his team skill though is fantastic. Super Solidarity is one of the best team skills in the game. It doesn't matter that it's red. There's enough red South American players that if we get a third South American Super Solidarity, he will actually be very fierce. And his passive is also a double S. Full body stand is one of the best passives in the game, bar none. For his stats, 914 stamina, absolutely pitiful. 11.5k catch and 10.6k punch is where we're at. He doesn't have any buffs to high or low balls whatsoever. For his skill build, he comes with S Genius Super Reflexes, which is just Genius Reflexes, but reskinned. That's literally it. It has a different color, it makes a louder noise, whatever. S Perfect Fine Save, which is his punch. Pretty decent. It's basically a different double-handed punch. He doesn't have very cool-looking skills, to be fair. He has a one-handed catch that you could give him. S Perfect Fine Save, obviously, you gotta give it to him because it comes with the A version. A Perfect Fine Save, which he comes with, just leave it there. And a double-handed punch, you can get it from the old Red Dream Collection version. You can pull that off. A double-handed punch is actually your cheapest option, honestly. It isn't really strong at all. It's a good enough option as a cheap save when you're not sure whether the opponent can score if you don't invest in at least some stamina into the save. I wouldn't maybe give him C Power Catch, even though I showed it earlier, because a double-handed punch will always be stronger in a hybrid build, and C Power Catch is more expensive and less reliable. You can, though, use it if you really want to, or the B one-handed catch, but B one-handed catch is actually pretty expensive. You can only do it like 4 times without full power. It's actually kind of wild. Next up, we've got Dugo. Excellent attack and defense. There are a few things to point out about this character which highlight the fact that he's somewhat frustrating as a new SSR character. You can't really hold the fact that he doesn't have skill support against him right now because, well, it's the very first gacha SSR version of him in the game. That sort of thing tends to happen with that. What you can hold against him is the fact that his S tackle is not very high momentum, and you need his carbon copy in green, Marcio, to even execute it. Another thing that's kind of terrible is that he doesn't even come with a decent enough A interception. Although this is more by design, since of the two characters, Dugo is meant to be the better blocker of the two and worse on offense. Of course, the character who is only okay at blocking at the DM position is probably meant to harass long-distance shooters, but outside of having access to A power block, there's nothing about this character that indicates an expectation of success against any competent long-distance shooter whatsoever. Other than his block being easy to level up with SR dupes, I guess. The most insulting part of Dugo, though, and of Marcio, is that he has all that stamina that Salinas was supposed to probably have, while contributing much less than Salinas otherwise would have by having access to more stamina. Positions a defensive midfielder, his role is defense. I think he's a B tier. I don't think he's really all that good at all. Even paired up with Marcio, I think he's just kind of average. I wouldn't pull for him at all. Even if I was looking for DMs, this aren't the DMs I would want. I guess if you get both of them because they have super solidarity, and you could run 2 of them in red or whatever. They don't have the super solidarity. They have the, I think the buffs that are just towards they have the South America buffs. So, I mean, if you're looking for Rainbow South America, I guess their buffs are okay. And you kind of need them because you need the 12% and then like unless you have like the green Rival, I guess. But if you have like Roberto, you can use Roberto and then maybe 2 of these guys, and it's whatever. It's not good. For his limit breaks, probably the more obvious of the 2 builds. If you're gonna have a power block, you might as well build around it. Do tackle and block. It's 25 all tackle speed block power, and also you do learn a dribble skill. So if you want to go in on that, 25 dribble tackle speed, 22 3 block power. It's a very weird build, but it is a build that's viable because that's what he has right now. I wouldn't recommend the second one. I just stay with the first one, honestly. Don't overthink it. For his grading, there's not much to say. His sole contribution is to his ability to defend, which would be better if he had any realistic way of cutting passes. His high stamina does at least mean he can often throw skills constantly at opponents hoping for a good result. He can't score, he can't enable. He has S defense though. He applies A pressure if only because tackling is kind of annoying. But he's not very independent. He really needs his teammate to be any good. He's not flexible at all. He doesn't have multiple positions or anything else. He doesn't have, I mean, he has skill support, but it's like 1 skill, so whatever. And his durability is trash. I mean, sorry, his durability is great. It's a skill support that's trash. He has an okay team skill, and his passive is like, oh, he's playing with more South Americans, I'm stronger. That's fine, I guess. As we can see for his stats, 1016 stamina, actually really good. It's pretty wild that it's so good. 8k dribble, 9k block, 9.1k block, sorry, 8.6k intercept, but 10.3k tackle. That's where he really is the best in. For a skill build, he comes with Invincible Defensive Midfield Duo, which is a tackle. He comes with A power block, A forcible interception, and A power tackle. But you can also teach him high speed South American dribble from, I believe, an SR card. So you might as well. It's the only skills you can realistically run and that you have any expectation of access to. So go with this kid and hope for the best. Next up, we have Marcio. Just look at everything I wrote for Dugo, okay? Just go back, go to that part of the video. This is the same character, okay? There's just a couple differences. First off, Marcio is better at cutting passes and has a better skill for it. He has swift interception. Marcio is worse at blocking shots and has a worse skill for it. He only learns sliding block. Marcio has the worst A tackle. He learns strong tackle instead of power tackle. Marcio has had access to a C pass, and he has a better passing stat than Dugo. But if you don't have that dupe of the old farmable Marcios, you have no extra skills. That's it. That's the character. If you thought I was going to have more to say about Marcio, then no. If Caleb can copy-paste the character and change a couple things, I can copy-paste a few slides and move on with my life. Position, defensive midfielder, role, defense, tier B, pull, no. Don't. For his limit breaks, you'll find that I can only really think of one because he doesn't have any other skills really to take advantage of. The more obvious of the two builds, if you're going to have ace with interception, you might as well build around it. Tackle and cut. 25 all, tackle speed, intercept technique. Since you don't learn any other skills other than a C pass, which is no longer available, there's no incentive to build any other way right now. For his grading, he's an ostensibly better and not by much defensive midfielder than his clone in red, if only because pass cutting is more available at the DM position than blocking is. And also he has a better white pass, otherwise the same character. Can't score, slightly better at enabling again, simply by virtue of having access to a C pass and also having a slightly better passing stat. Otherwise the same in defense, pressure, independence, flexibility, and durability, and skill support. His skill support should actually be F, but I'm putting C because you can learn a C pass if you have access to it. But if you don't, it sucks. Sorry. Same team skill, same passive, whatever. For stamina, if it looks eerily similar, it's because it is. Also, if his stats look similar, it's because they are. He's a little bit better offensively, he has slightly better dribble, slightly better pass, slightly better tackle, but instead of being better at block, he's better at intercept. For skill build, Invincible Defensive Midfield Duo, you recognize this because it's the same thing that Dugo has. A sliding block, A swift interception, A strong tackle, all things he comes with, all pretty easy to level up. C precise pass. It's good that he comes with 4 skills because there are literally no other versions of Marcio to find other than the RUR edition from a long time ago. So expect to be running him with just 4 skills for a very long time. Next up, we've got Casagrande, super heavy, obstructs the world. Now, imagine if 97 Jito was green and Brazilian and also had no stamina just like Jito. However, instead of having a passive that relies on him being at full power to succeed, imagine if you needed to succeed, all you need to succeed, was to guess right, since you just have a 50% Insight Master. Just from that information alone, you might have surmised that this Casagrande is actually not all that bad for a green South American defender. And you'd be right. It's unfortunate that just like 97 Jito and Salinas, he seems to have asthma, but at least the asthma is a lot more forgivable when you're actually a more or less competent defender. There are some obvious downsides to this, of course. While he seems to be a lot like, say, Dream Collection Jito in terms of how he should be played, due to Insight Master, his low stamina basically dictates the skills he'll be able to use. Additionally, he has no really powerful tackle with which to take advantage of, so you will have to rely on the somewhat overpriced A high-power tackle. Finally, Mighty Interception is at best a 420 momentum skill, which limits it severely at the highest cap of power. At least he's able to use his S-block twice and a half without tiring himself out, which is something Jito can't do, and he's the second Super Dust Solidarity in green, which is nice since there are no other green versions of Casagrande in the game yet. He is a defender, his role is just as defense, he's an A tier, he's actually not too bad. If you do need him for green South America, yeah, I might pull for him, but only maybe, and that's running the risk that you might run and pull any of the other garbage, which is way worse. Now for his limit breaks, this one leans into his S skills and hopes that tackling is left to someone else. It also relieves him rather slow as a result. It's the full block and cut, block, power, intercept technique, all 25. Now if you want to have 3 viable defensive options and foresee a tackle in the future, you can do the balanced defense based off cut, which is 22-3 to tackle speed and block power, and then 25 all to intercept technique. For his grading, realistically he's mostly a defender, but he's basically just one passing skill away from being not a terrible choice to send the ball out front from the wing. Being that he doesn't really need much else, since Insight Master is a good skill to try and stifle opponents with, He slowly operates well as a side defender with which to try to prevent 1-2s and attacking midfielders from swinging the ball up to open forwards. He can't score, but he's okay at enabling. Again, he's just missing an A precise pass or something. He's a good defender with okay pressure. He would be a little bit better in pressure if he was just better at white cutting, I think. If he had like slightly better stats in pass cut, he'd be better in that regard. He's pretty independent. He doesn't need anybody else to be good. Inside Master does make you fiercely independent, ironically. Flexibility is pretty okay because he can build a couple different ways depending on what skills you have available to you. He's not very durable at all, but because his skills are a little bit cheaper, it's not like a C, like a deadly proposition. And his skill support's actually okay. He has access to like an S block and a couple other things. His team skill's quite nice. Super solidarity for green South Americans, very good. Passive S, it's just, his passive's pretty good. Inside Master is really not that bad of a passive. I know that some people would think that Inside Master 50% is like a double S skill, but Inside Master actually requires you to be good at reading other players, and so it's not like the panacea that some other team skills can be, or passives can be, sorry. For his stats, 872 stamina, not great, but not the absolute worst that you've seen on a player. As you can see, the way the stats are laid out, he does have 25% resistance to high ball, so he's actually a good like high ball blocker. So if you're playing like the twins, Casagrande can mess with you if you're trying to like skydive hurricane. He has 10.3 intercept, 9.4k block, 8.7k tackle, and 8k pass. 8k pass is really not that bad on a defender like this, so that's what I'm saying. He's an option. For his skill build, he's got S Mighty Interception, what he comes with. S Giant Block you can get from the blue gacha version, the only other SSR Casagrande that's from the gacha. A High Power Tackle, A New Brazil Football, things that I would give or that I would get for him. I think you have to pass him A High Power Tackle. And actually, no. He comes with A High Power Tackle, but you can pass him the Giant Block. And then A Power Dribble you can get from the SR version. You should pass it to him. He has a surprisingly decent amount of pass, which would help to make his A New Brazil Football decent if you try to use it. That said, you'll probably want to swap that for an A pass as soon as he gets a decent one, if he ever gets one. Because New Brazil Football is way too expensive, and you'd rather just use that slot just to be able to dump the ball rather than come up with it yourself. Now, finally, the only character that is not specifically from this banner and actually just came out with the 97 Japan and 2018 Japan reissues is Stefan Levin, the Seeker of Destruction. He's a 003 rate character. He's an Okamoto character, as I like to call him. Finally, something actually interesting to talk about. Here's a character that's actually weaker out of the box than Dreamfest Matsuyama, and he's a 0.01 player to boot. So what's so special about him? Well, it's the fact that he can get up to 50% stronger for being played with other European World Youth players, that's what. So now we have your attention. What all is expected out of this version of Stefan Levin? Remember, 50% means that he gets 5% stronger for every other European World Youth player. Let's start with the very best case scenarios and work backwards. At his absolute strongest and limit broken for shooting, Levin Rush can go as high as 72.5k in strength. That's pretty good, to be fair, and even at a 480 stamina cost, that's a great scoring skill to use. What else? Assuming a balanced limit break elsewhere, his max A pass would hit like 41.5k, his max S dribble 64.4k, his best A dribble 43.1k, his S intercept 63.3k, his S tackle 59k, and the A version 42.1k. All in all, he's a fairly complete and well-balanced attacking midfielder that can really shoot. That said, the ability to put him together properly is insanely difficult due to there just not being enough viable European World Youth players to field. The best Rainbow European team fields plenty of non-World Youth players, and the only complete Green European team that you can field has several non-World Youth players in it. His tier ranking is more acknowledging the raw power present and the potential of his future rather than any impact he might have on the game right now. Eventually, if he were to get the ability to really easily complete a full World Youth team that actually also has a lot of team skill buffs out there, and also he might be able to benefit from hidden abilities, then yeah, for sure, double S. But right now, for example, if you were to run like the Rising Sun Green Cleaver, you're actually trading in 3% from his passive just for the 2%. Actually, no, that's not true. You'll be getting 4%, so you're giving in 1%. So maybe players like that you can run because you're only like sacrificing 1%. But for example, that's the only player that maybe realistically can run. There's no other Green European buffs that are hidden abilities that aren't actually 11, right? And then you have players that you'd rather run, like, if I don't recall incorrectly, I think the Green Chester is actually a junior youth player. I could be wrong on that one, so if you want to double check on me for that, and let me know in the comments if that's the case, and you're more than welcome to do so. But there's other stuff around there, you know, in that team. There's no really good World Youth goalkeeper yet in Green. There's speculation it might be Mueller. Might come not in this next Dreamfest, but the one in that ends up in July, that finishes July up. That seems pretty reasonable. I think maybe they'll release like a Wiren, and I don't know, like a red Wiren or a blue Wiren, and a red or a blue Geno, depending on which one the other one is. So that's possible. He is an attacking midfielder. His roles are striker, enabler, and utility. He is S tier, and his rate is very low. And right now, I think you can only get him in the 2017 and the 2018 banners. Sorry, the 2018 and the 1987 banners, the Dream ones, and then he should join the gacha like all the other 0.01 characters at a super low rate. For limit breaks, you know it, you love it. Standard striker, 25 speed, shot power, and then 22 3-pass technique. And then there's a balance shooter. There's an old classic that belonged on the lights of Dreamfest 11 at 0.01 Tsubasa, and it makes its appearance again. When you have lots of stats everywhere, bringing them all up just a bit more is always good, and really not that bad, especially because of the way that he's just super balanced. It means that investing in everything is actually not a terrible idea. So balance shooter is an 889 dribble tackle speed, 997 pass intercept technique, and 25 all to shot and power. For his grading, he's sublimely average unless you could put a team together for him. That's this Levin. I actually somewhat expect there to be a Swedish banner now that features all 4 of them, with the expectation that they'll all be World Youth players, and that we will see some World Youth Euro as something viable very soon. The only reason his passive is SS is that if you can activate it, it's one of the, if not the sole strongest passive in the game, but the activation requirements as of right now are hilariously difficult to build a good team around. His scoring can go from anywhere to A to double S, so can his enabling, and so can his defense. He puts on good pressure at A. I think his pressure might also go all the way up to SS, depending on the rate, but he's not independent at all. He really needs those World Youth European players to be any good. However, he's incredibly flexible, he's incredibly durable, and he has great skill support and an excellent passive. His passive is really high. Like, again, his only reason is because if you can activate it, it's like crazy. Right now it might be difficult, but it can get that high. And his team skill, whatever, it's a 17% Green Europeans. That's not a thing that you can really use right now. It might actually, because right now you can build Green Europe. If you have, there's actually 11 players for that, but your goalkeeper would be either the Mueller, that's the junior youth Mueller, you can get it up to 40%, and only the 40% one is viable. The rest of them kind of suck. Even 35% is not really enough. You need the 40%. And he's junior youth, so he doesn't help this Levin. But you could buff him by 17 if that's the thing you want to do. For his stamina at 1011, actually pretty good. As you can see from his stats, in match, 8.1k dribble, 8.6k shot, 7.8k pass, 7.9k tackle, and then 8k intercept. It's all really mediocre. It's all really bad because it's so balanced. But the expectation is that you'll run him with at least 30% or better. So if you can actually manage to max out his passive, he gets crazy. It's 12k dribble, 13k shot, 11.7k pass, 11.9k tackle, 12k intercept. Those are stats to die for. That is just absolutely obnoxiously good. If you can actually get him to that, he is just the biggest player. I don't know how you'll do it, but it is a possibility. And remember, running him in like Rainbow Europe is really hard because the character that gives you the 30% buff in Rainbow Europe is Levin. Anyways, for a skill build, he comes with S11 rush and S11 turn and A11 pass, which you should all keep because they're all fine. Give him S Aurora intercept if you have it, because why not? It's a humongous pass cut, and there's no A version. And then A Aurora curtain, because having the S version of Aurora curtain is kind of unnecessary when you're this big. With all the stats you have, you're probably better off just investing in the A tackle and the S version, because you will probably funnel people to dribble instead of pass very often once they see an S intercept. Anyways guys, thank you all for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, please go ahead and click the like button and leave a comment telling me what you think. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe and click the little bell icon to be notified of when new videos or posts are made before checking out the rest of my channel. Also, if you would like to support my work, you can do so by either leaving a tip by clicking on the Streamlabs link in the description, or by joining my Patreon, where you can subscribe monthly and enjoy the unique benefits available to my Patreon subscribers. You can check that out by following the Patreon link below or by using the URL shown in the video. Please help me out. I really want Takeshi. Please, Takeshi, he hasn't come. So many dream balls. Thank you guys for checking this out. I hope to see you guys soon.